So there is a bombshell report that came out yesterday on March 4th, and it's basically saying that Putin's staff was taken aback and very shocked by his decision for an all-out invasion of Ukraine and also the severity of Western sanctions. Now, I don't think there was almost anybody who actually predicted that he was going to do this kind of all-out invasion of Ukraine that he ended up doing. Obviously, they're invading from multiple directions and actually going in. They were supposed to just do the recognition of the Donetsk and Luhansk region and the Donbass region as independent states, which is so hilariously fake states. It's so laughable to even think about that. It's so funny. But they're invading from everywhere, coming in from the south and coming in through Crimea. You can come in, coming in through North Belarus, East Ukraine. Like they're just coming in through everywhere. I think everybody was shocked by his invasion of Ukraine. I mean, it was so crazy. And you can see just how it's hard to explain how severe these Western sanctions are, guys. The ruble has crashed, and it's going to continue to crash because people are trying to get foreign currency, and there is no foreign currency. And so the value of the ruble is just going to continue to tank, and companies are pulling out left and right because it's beneficial for them business-wise due to PR to do so. You're talking about like Apple, Microsoft, these companies that are hugely influential. And the thing you have to understand is this is not North Korea we're talking about. This is like Russia. Russia is part of the modern world in terms of especially the city areas. There's obviously a lot of village life. There's a lot of village life in a lot of places. There's Starbucks and McDonald's. Like in Russia, just like the rest of the modern world, you go get a Big Mac and you sit down and you read through memes on Reddit on your iPhone that you bought, and you're drinking a Starbucks coffee along with it. Like that's Russia, right? This is not like some kind of like really crazy backwards society of like peasantry farming or whatever. This is a modern country we're talking about. And so these sanctions are fucking them in the ass, and then getting, disconnected from SWIFT is so crazy. And so there's a lot to say about this situation, but I'll just read you the article first. It says, Kremlin officials say they didn't know Russian President Vladimir Putin would invade Ukraine and were shocked by the severity of Western sanctions imposed upon it, the independent Russian investigative outlet agency reported. One unnamed senior official said people in the Kremlin, quote, did not know that it would be an all-out invasion and that many were shocked when news of the military assault broke, the outlet said. In the run-up to the invasion, Putin's cabinet had only prepared to deal with Western sanctions introduced over Russia's decision to recognize the independence of the Ukrainian regions of Luhansk and Donetsk on February 21st, not for an invasion, a source close to Putin's administration told agency. And so you got to keep in mind that the sanctions that would have been levied in response to these fake states being created would have been nowhere close to what's going on with the full throttled invasion of Ukraine. Finland is even considering joining NATO now. There's a bunch of countries that want to join the EU and NATO because they know that if Ukraine gets overtaken, that they're next. And so it would have been nowhere close. And so, they wouldn't have been, I don't think they've been fully disconnected from SWIFT yet. I think just some major banks, which is still impacting a lot of people, have been disconnected from SWIFT. But, that is a serious deal. That's like a nuclear move to disconnect them from SWIFT, even to that extent. And that would not have happened with this recognition of the Luhansk and Donetsk regions. And, Switzerland probably wouldn't have ended up doing anything because they barely did anything now. They reversed it. A lot of these countries doing the same stuff. So imagine how much weaker it would have been if it were just a recognition of those two areas. It says after Russia invaded countries including the U.S. and U.K. as well as the EU sanctioned Russian entities and individuals, seizing assets belonging to those closest to Putin and ejecting Russian banks from the SWIFT global financial system. The Kremlin is particularly concerned by its ousting from SWIFT, the freezing of Russian foreign reserves. If you don't know what that is, Russia basically had actually planned for something like this to happen after Crimea because they actually had a pretty big dip. It went from 30 rubles to $1 all the way down to 60 rubles to $1. So your currency value is essentially halved, which is pretty huge. And so they had a crisis there. But their idea was let's just stock up on foreign reserves so that once people start trying to pull out foreign currency because the ruble is worth such garbage and they want to take out dollars because it's worth more, we'll have enough foreign currency to resupply the banks to prevent these bank runs, and it will help the ruble stay maintained at its value. And so they bought up a bunch. What I think is U.S. debt is what I think they bought up, and their idea was, and this is for multiple countries, you buy up some U.S. debt, and then once this starts happening, you sell off that debt, you take that USD, and then you supply it to Russian banks. But the U.S. has issued a statement saying that, it's illegal for U.S. Individuals to deal with the Russian central bank. And so essentially that debt that Russia owns of the United States is just now frozen. So they can't sell it. So they can't get the money to funnel to U.S. banks, to Russian banks. So, everyone in Russia is trying to pull out their foreign currency right now, and it can't be resupplied because of that sanction against the Russian central bank. So the response to the sanctions was sanctioned. In the exit of a string of Western companies from Russia, agency reported, quote, "Everything is fucked," a source close to Putin's administration told the outlet. That does seem to be pretty accurate. It's hard to, again, let me repeat, it's very hard to explain just how huge of an impact this is. There's a lot of people who are losing their entire income. Their lives are going to be seriously impacted. Think about it, like Apple and Nike and Microsoft, like businesses run on these products that they offer. Microsoft especially, obviously. So this is really, really crazy, not being able to buy a new iPhone, or these different businesses shutting down, not being able to use Apple Pay, not having access to Swift, the ruble continuing to plummet. You can't, you're losing your value in foreign currency because there literally is no foreign currency left. So you don't have that anymore. Like, it's not there. You can't take it out. It's not there. I don't know if they have like FDIC insurance, but is it going to be the same for the currency that they have? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This is before the invasion. One of the officials told agency Kremlin officials held several meetings about sanctions and that stress tests were conducted on large companies in case Russia was disconnected from SWIFT. An official went on to tell agency that Kremlin officials cannot resign from their post because it would be seen as a betrayal. You can only quit to prison, they said. And so this is really the big thing here, questioning like what's going on, because are there any checks on Vlad? Does Vlad have any checks? Like, if he were to order a nuclear strike on Ukraine or any country, would there be someone in line to be like, no, I'm not going to do that? This is a question that I had because it seemed like their military mission was a pretty big failure. Ukraine, was able to withstand the invasion for much longer than it seemed. Really seemed to be closing in on Ukraine, but they appeared to, resist and persist. And so one of the things I was wondering is, are there any real, legitimate, merited generals who are drawing up the logistical plans for the invasion at the Kremlin? Because, there's one thing Stalin did, and one of the reasons why the Soviet Union was getting so fucked in the ass when Germany first invaded them, is because he had killed all of his generals, all of the merited generals who were in any way actually deserved their position and were good at their job. He killed them, because what does a merited military leader that's praised, what does that present to someone like a Stalin or a Putin? It's a political threat to your power, because those are typically people who end up being in power. Think about how many U.S. generals became president of the United States. Just generally speaking, think about other countries and how often it is for a military leader, a very popular one, to take power. And so they kill them, right? Because that's a threat to their power. So are there any real generals at the Kremlin really able to draw logistical plans that are effective? It doesn't seem like it to me. And so, are these people just saying this to save themselves in front of the international tribunal preemptively? It's definitely possible. Is it also possible that the Kremlin staff genuinely didn't know? That's also very possible. We know that Putin is like a Hitlerian type of figure in terms of his power, Stalin-like figure. So, Putin doesn't answer to anybody, right? So he can, he does whatever he wants. And so, given all of that, is it definitely possible that they just genuinely didn't know and it was Putin's plan? Yeah, it is. Did Putin really not tell anybody? I don't know. It's hard to know, but regardless, this is definitely a bombshell report that's released, but there are definitely a lot of questions to be asked. And the everything is fucked quote is very accurate from the source close to Putin's administration. Another thing you have to ask is, getting reports like this, um, does the CIA have moles within Putin's cabinet? I mean, I would imagine they have to some extent, because the information that they were disseminating, the CIA and the U.S. intelligence, the Pentagon, it's been really accurate. So are there moles within the Russian government? I would imagine it almost has to be, right? There almost has to be moles in there. And so what does that represent? Are these people loyal to Putin? What will it take for them to, turn on him or not listen to him or defy him? Obviously, they're saying they fear him very heavily. So, obviously it's a very consequential situation and don't really know what's going to end up happening. But, we'll keep you updated, and a lot of stuff going on here.